Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Divine Within, the invisible connection with God. I'm Santiago, Kneeland, your host, and today we're going to be talking about prayer. We have a very special guest. He's not a newbie here in the podcast world. His name is Jim Watkins. You probably heard of him if you follow the Urantia radio podcast. He's the host, the producer, and I'm very excited to have him here. He's a very personality that I've been following, and his program has really inspired part of this program. So I'm really happy to have him here, and especially talking about a topic that's really interesting, prayer. I think that prayer sometimes is doesn't get the what it deserves. Let's put it that way. So that one of the things that Jim and I are going to be doing in this program is to unpack what is prayer, how can we pray, and what can prayer do to the individual. So I'm going to introduce Jim, and Jim is he does a lot of stuff, but his career spanning over 2 decades in commercial broadcasting. He discovered the Urantia book at 19, very young age, basically the same age that I did, and has since dedicated his life to studying and sharing its teachings. He has written 3 books, including A New Revelation and The Gift, and launched the Urantia radio podcast with over 35,000 annual subscribers. He currently lives in Florida with his family, continuing his work in spreading the teachings of the Urantia book. So welcome, Jim. It's really an honor to have you here.
Well, it was really great to meet you the first time when we were on a thing that was, what was that? That was like, oh, I know what it was. It was the Jubilee. I think it was the Jubilee, and I met you and some other folks down where you live. Or at that time, I thought you lived in South America, but I realize now that you actually are in Spain. So anyway, it's good to see you again.
Well, it's good to see you now. Now you're in that part, and I'm in this part because it's usually the other way. So I'm excited about this. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about before we dive into our topic, into prayer, was the Urantia radio podcast. I mean, what I like about your show is there's a very good variety of topics. You know, if you're somebody that's reading the Urantia book and want to have, a candid explanation, because sometimes you have explanations, sometimes you have interviews with some very important people. So if you want to have this candid conversation or somebody that, a nice voice that can help you, I think Jim is that. So tell us a little bit about your program and your experience doing this and doing the service of the revelation.
Well, the podcasting thing sort of evolved, or it just came up because I'd always wanted to try to do my career, use radio as a way of, I always thought, man, there's got to be a way to bring the Urantia book to the people via radio. And I just felt it was so advanced that it probably, I would have to buy a lot of time, and then I probably would get kicked off of radio stations because I think people would call and go, what the hell is this nut talking about? And so I was always sort of cautious on how I wanted to approach it. And then podcasting kind of got more improved around 2017, where the tools were better, and you could create a podcast with a pretty decent microphone. And since I had the experience of gathering information and doing a show, it just seemed like a natural fit. And I said, I'll try it for a while. And I didn't do any kind of advertising or anything. And so we're at about, 160,000 people a year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but to me, 10 people, because that means those people heard about the Urantia book and maybe it changed their life, like maybe it changed my life. And that's basically the story. And I do it as a labor of true love. I kind of feel like I don't really do much I don't like to proselytize, and I don't like to preach, but I do like to share. And this book is phenomenal. I mean, it's just unbelievably, it is a revelation. And for the first 10 years, I read it trying to find something to prove it wasn't a revelation. Very skeptical. I loved what it had to say, but there's a difference between loving a book and then believing it's something on the level of a revelation. Once you have a perspective of the universe and of life from a Urantia book perspective, the first impulse is you want to tell everybody. And the second impulse is you want to live what you know. And boy, when you know that you're in this, it's kind of like, this is a metaphor. Let's say you live on an island and you don't know of any other people anywhere. You just think that that island is all there is. That's your world. And then a ship shows up, and it's people that look like you or kind of thinks like you, and they tell you, no, 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 no. You don't have any idea of the world that you live in. Let me tell you about it. And that's what the Urantia book is. It's sharing with us what else is going on in our happy little universe. And it's consistent with most mainline religions. It certainly taps into the divinity of Christ and his mission and what he was here to do. And even though I like the Bible and even though I considered myself a Christian, there were just too many unanswered questions. And the Urantia book systematically answered all of them.
And I want to add to that. I think what you're saying, and it's very important, and especially people that are listening to this podcast, because the divine within also stems from the teachings or the basis from the Urantia book. And what it states, it's really not substituting, like you're saying. We're not proselytizing. We're not pushing an agenda. We're expanding on what there is out there, and this is something that I think better describes it. It's not that we're going to give you another version or give you something different, but I think it's giving you more insight. And that's what's important. What you're just saying, you're bringing more knowledge, and that knowledge gives you more understanding of your world, of how things is. I mean, that's what we do. We look for knowledge to understand and not only how to live. And this is what this book does. It tells you, gives you insights on other stuff, not beyond the material, beyond the mundane, into who we are and what we're here to do. So I think it's a very good, and the way that you do it, and that's why I think I like your show, is it's not pushing that agenda.
Commiserating on the fact that this book,
Yes.
it's aids you in kind of grasping the importance of not only the message, which is that we live in a very heavily populated universe, which it is in itself a revelation. I mean, we're still asking, is there life out there? We send out probes and people still don't know. I feel like I know the answer because of the presentation in the Urantia book. Now, somebody could say, well, yeah, but anybody could make that up. I mean, look at Lord of the Rings, look at Star Wars. Those are in imagination. But I say, yeah, but the difference is this. This book doesn't say it's fiction. It says it's nonfiction. I mean, they very specifically say, we've been able to give this to you. And frankly, the last time they sent somebody, we put them up on the cross. So you have to think about it.
Exactly. Why it's done this way. And like you were saying, it's very important. There's a moment, and you were saying about that you love a book, and then you understand what this book represents. And I think that anybody that reads and is a Urantia book student gets to that point. We all come skeptical. We all come and look and with an attitude of let's see what this says, and you start reading it, and it gets to a point where you realize this is something beyond just a material book. I think everybody has that, and it's different things for different people, but anybody that's a UB reader tells you that. I think that's very important.
Yeah, it's not something you really have to you can give people a little bit of information, but if you give them too much, that's not good. You can't overteach the book. At the end of the day, you just have to hand somebody the book and say, well, just start from the Jesus Papers if they're a Christian. Or if you're a historian, start from part 3, because you'll learn, it'll fascinate you, and then you'll go, well, if you're really into philosophy, read paper 100, The Reality of Religious Experience, and learn about philosophy and learn about how our religions evolved over the years. A lot of people say, oh, God is just an invention because people are afraid of death. Well, actually, that there's a sense of truth to that, because fear of ghosts led to religion and became transactional, good and evil. How do I ward off evil spirits? How do I negotiate with the gods? And yes, they were evolutionary, but what does the book say? Evolution is accentuated by revelation.
And look at the current situation of the world. I think you think that by this time we would have solved the war issue, and I think it's getting worse. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big question, isn't it? Because when we last spoke, Iran had not. And do you talk to any Christian friends? They'll tell you, well, this is supposed to happen this way. This is the end of the world.
Exactly. And that's interesting, the sequence of events. So that's maybe another topic that we can address, because it's very intriguing. And the things that are coming out every day makes it more relevant. But today, I think we have one very special topic that we discussed, and that I think what the insights that the Urantia book brings, and what we both have had in personal experience is very, it's something that we can talk about. It's on prayers.